pretty Pennsylvania to outrageous Oregon these days, I have Lisa Hauserman and myself, Smoking in G Sharp, coming at you right now on the Stream O Consciousness program. How are you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing pretty well right now. I'm really excited to be recording because we haven't been able to get together on it, and I'm just thrilled to be here tonight. Thrilled, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Here in Pennsylvania. Beautiful
Pretty.
Pennsylvania. Yes, absolutely. So, do you want me just to start launching?
Yes, please launch.
Okay, I'm going to launch. Here's what happened today. I listened to something that my friend Patty had sent me pertaining to the situation that's going on now with the jabs. We're going to call it the jabs instead of the VAX word because it seems to be taboo and people, we could get censored or something like that. So I'm just going to play something from Robert Kennedy Jr. He runs this children's health defense. I'm going to do that now, but bear with me because I'm a little confused. I have to mute, I know that much, and share the screen. I'll just do this. I suppose I could make myself an avatar as well, but we'll just see. It's okay. We won't be judged on this, I don't think. Okay.
I can remember the days before my first baby was born that all I wanted was for that child to be healthy. And I prayed about it, and I didn't care if it was a boy or a girl or whether he or she was good in sports or good in school. I just wanted a healthy, happy baby. And I can't imagine the heartbreak, the devastation to parents when they find out that their child isn't healthy. And particularly if they find out that the injury that that child is suffering was completely unnecessary. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm the chairman of the board and the senior prosecuting attorney for Children's Health Defense. The greatest crisis that America faces today, as big as any of our environmental crises, is the chronic disease epidemic in America's children. The generation of American children born after 1990 are arguably the sickest generation in the history of our country, with chronic ailments and pediatric rates of some chronic conditions that are the highest in the world. For example, according to CDC, 1 in every 6 American children has been diagnosed with a developmental disability such as autism, ADD, ADHD, or learning disabilities. And according to HHS, an astonishing 54% of American children has a chronic disease like rheumatoid arthritis or juvenile diabetes. Our children today are wandering around in a toxic soup. We need to do the science, and we need to figure out which one of these chemicals and these exposures is causing these problems in our children. And the 54% of kids who have chronic disease does not tell the whole story. We're seeing a global downturn in IQ in the planet's children. And how is it that our federal agencies are not asking that essential question, what is debilitating America's children? We need to know that answer, and we need to stop these exposures to our children today. And I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to fight for your children, and I need your support because the forces that I'm up against are forces that have been able to compromise every major institution in our democracy. And the people who stand up against them get crushed. But I know how to fight them because I've spent a lifetime fighting big shots and fighting bullies. And that's who they are. And that's who we're dealing with today. People who have that arrogance of power. People who believe that they can get away with anything, including destroying the lives of our children. I'm not going to let them do that. And I am going to fight to the last day of my life with the last bit of energy I have to make sure that we get justice for these children, to make sure that we can produce now a healthy generation of American children that doesn't have this epidemic of neurological and other injuries. And I will spend the rest of my life fighting to make sure that no other child in this country or any other country suffers this kind of unnecessary injury again. And I will die with my boots on fighting for these children.
Yeah.
And here we are back again. Now, he did this debate with that Dershowitz creep on a show called, oh, why did it go out of my mind? I forget the name of it, but I will include it in the show notes, as they say. And I will also include a link to the Children's Health Defense. I just wanted to go over a couple numbers, and then I will shut up for a little bit and let you get a word in edgewise. Let's see. 704. First of all, this has nothing to do with this, but I just want to tell you, $740 billion were just passed by the House for the defense, and I use that in quotation marks, budget. So people who think that there's some big resistance to the agenda from the administration, they're just nutty. It's not happening. But I'm going to move down here to the stuff that's pertinent to this. Jab information, and G Sharp has actually gone over this before, but I will do it again. The Health and Human Resources in, I believe it was 2010, they did a real study in terms of the people who get injured by the jabs, and it turned out to be 2.6%, and that means 1 in 40. So when you hear some of these talking heads that are paid for by the big pharma companies bloviating about 1 in a million and all that jazz, that's just absolute nonsense. And we have to keep in mind too, if you watch TV or think about it, how many commercials are for the pharma, who pays for their advertising. I don't know why people don't understand that or can't see it. Most people that I know are very much in tune with the fact that big pharma can be bad news. But when it comes to these jabs, they have this childlike trust. I just don't get it. But let's see here. $4 billion has been paid out of that slush fund since, I'm not sure if it's 1986 or not. But what happened in 1986 is the vaccine, I said the word, companies went in front of Congress and they wanted to have no liability. I'm sorry about the road noise. And so they actually passed a law where there's zero liability, zero. They cannot be sued. This is all, you can fact check this. And that is why now there's this slush fund paid for by the taxpayer. You can sue other companies like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something out there, Lysol or something. If it made you sick or what have you, you can do that with other drugs. You can do it, but not with this. And, yeah, I just think that's really important to know. And of course, after that happened, we went from, what was it, G Sharp, something like 3 vaccines to now 72.
That's about right.
Something to that effect.
It's so ridiculous. It is just utterly ridiculous to hear that number.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. And people, like Kennedy said, I watched another interview of his as well. With this Bigtree, that name cracks me up. I forget the name of his show, but he used to be a producer on that doctor's show on TV or something. At any rate, I watched a follow-up interview. They talked about the debate he had with Dershowitz. And Bigtree played a few excerpts from it. And Kennedy said that if people were really educated on this and it wasn't hidden from them, he feels they could win people over, but they censor everything. That should be suspicious to anybody involved, I would think. But they're trying to make it, Kennedy really stressed the fact that it should not be a political situation. But what has happened is that these people have Trump derangement syndrome to the point that anything he says, they're going to do the opposite. Originally, when he campaigned, Donald Trump mentioned vaccine injury. And the Democrats couldn't stand that, you see, because he's on the other team and they can't stand him and they have Trump derangement syndrome. And so now they're just on board with it. And I'm sorry to bring, politics into this, but I have to in this case because Kennedy's even shocked that he's seeing this go on with, his family's party, so to speak. And you know that I'm nothing politically. I'm going to mute. It's your turn, big time, bigly.
Okay. Yeah, well, um, it seems that our modern society has rigged us. We're rigged to be on a team, choose a team, cheer for a team. You know, it's utterly ridiculous how far people will go for football to politics, and they're rooting for someone or some group they've never even met. I mean, I'm down to it. People, you really just gotta, if you see it and you taste it and you touch it and you know it, then that's kind of reality. But when you glean it off of a television screen, somebody far, far away that you'll never fucking meet, and you root for this guy or that gal or that team or that blue or that red, like your life depends on it. And I am utterly clueless at this point, Lisa. As you can tell, my temper is kind of starting to flare on that subject.
Hey, that's okay. I mean, honest to Pete, I just okay. I think it starts in grade school, young when they're young. My friend Patty came over today, and we had a coffee talk here on the porch, and we talked about she felt when we went to school, and I think the same rings true. And you let me know how you feel. Sports was very much emphasized over anything else, and I thought that might be to prepare people for future life. Like, pick a team; it's only two choices, this or that. Defend that team, no matter what they do. You've got to stick with them, defend the indefensible. Do you know what I'm saying? What do you think of that analogy, I guess?
Oh, it is total indoctrination. Go Badgers go until you grow up, and then you're into the new indoctrination of, yeah, pick a side on politics, and pick a side on different governments. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's we've been played, people. I'm sorry, I just have to kind of say it that way.
I agree with you. We've totally been played. And you know what I've found is very difficult because, of course, it's hard to admit to ourselves when we've been hoodwinked. And if you think about it, for me personally, I'll just say, I won't speak for anyone else. I was brainwashed from an early age on all of this stuff. The first thing your mom and dad, one of the first things they say, about, don't play in the dirt, or mine didn't really say that, but, for the most part, be careful this, you might catch this from someone, you might do this, wash your hands, do this, do that, do the other. And it's like Jon Rappoport, the investigative journalist, says, we have like 100 years or more of this fear of germs. You know that germ used to mean something totally different. They've inverted that meaning as well. It actually used to mean like a new life or a new bud. Now it's
Yes,
turned into
to
horrible.
yes, it was to germinate, to blossom out of the seed.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and now it's ooh, oogie boogie, don't touch those seeds. They might germ innate on you.
Well, speaking of language, because we can slip back into this for a minute, I'm going to bring up that thing that we discussed earlier, and it's about language. It's really interesting, and I know that G Sharp is pretty good about this jazz. Here you go. Take it away.
Yes, the Admiralty Law words. This one, I learned this from Jordan Maxwell. He's brilliant when it comes to working with wordology. As you can see, we did actually arrive to this continent, as we've been told, by sea. And on the sea, they had to have admiralty law to keep order. And when they came over here and elsewhere, not just the United States, but when basically Spain and England were spreading out, they took the law of the sea and brought it onto land to control people. And it's true, you have a birth certificate, like a berth that holds a ship. When you pull it into its little slot, that's a berth. When you
Let me,
come out of a little slot, it's a birth.
I just wanted to interject and like, wouldn't that be like a birth canal?
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole play on the words, the birth, in and out of a slot. And then it goes into, it shows citizenship, leadership, a court. Here's another thing I don't think I see on here. I'm going to look. Does it have bank balance, bankruptcy? You know, if you think about it, you have currency. Okay, that's fluid. It's liquid assets. It's fluid current going down a river. And what holds a current on each side? A bank, a river bank. So your banks hold your currency in place where the bank wants you to, run that money and currency.
It's so fascinating. And I will include a link to Maxwell. I just wanted to say one thing going back to our previous conversation. I was thinking the other day, which is always frightening, about indoctrination, doctor, you know what I'm saying? Or like a dock.
Yeah, well, they're showing here a court. It's a dock and a harbor. Yeah, you're harboring in the dock because you feel ill. So you're harboring in the dock. You go to the dock tour because you're harboring something, an illness. Here again, down at the bottom, all of the things were a fellowship, a friendship, and it is a hardship, an internship. See, everything has a ship because you're moving. But isn't it funny that when you take items across the ocean, that's cargo. But when you take items across the land, that's shipments.
I was going to say that right now we are on the same page.
So, see, in other words, they've taken these words and they've twisted them into our daily vocabulary to keep the Admiralty Law of the ocean, of the sea, upon the land. Once we get back to the law of nature, the law of the land, people will be so much more harmonious with each other. See, this is how it's a manipulation. And of course, it comes from, I'm sorry, but I have to throw this in here. It comes from the age of Pisces, which is the fish, and we're all underwater. What happens when you can't pay something because it costs more than what it's really worth? Well, you're upside down, you're underwater,
Yeah, and it says here, I have my head above water in the middle there.
Yes, they use all of these words because it is working off of the law of the ocean. And again, dear Jordan Maxwell keeps pushing that we got to get back to the law of nature, the law of the land. Because once we rearrange how we really deal with each other in our society under true laws, under a land law, we will be so much more harmonious. Right now we're in discord because we're trying to swim through the rock and dirt that we stand upon. I'm sorry.
Right, that's fine. That's really fascinating. And it puts me in the mind, of course, of Mark Passio. I don't know if you've ever listened to him, but
oh yeah,
he talks about natural law. And we should all be, under natural law and stuff. And also, while I have you, the yellow fringe, evidently, like around the flags and stuff, that shows that we're under this Admiralty, whatever. Tell me what you know about that.
Well, we're basically under Admiralty martial law, and that went into effect in, I think, 1933-ish.
I'm not sure.
See, each president, every 4 years, has to renew the war act of, we're under threat, so they can automatically throw us back into basically it's an admiralty martial law. So at any time, see, it's not the president you need to be worried about, it's the Congress, because this lets the Congress at any time supersede the executive office if they feel a superimposed threat. Oh, like Oogie Boogie that's going on around right now with maskies and all that. Oh, see, they can do something over there without Mr. President Day. So that's why you have to watch the slippery slope that they've made of our laws and our Constitution. It's barely there anymore. We're holding on by that little gold thread around the flag.
Good one. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Fourth Amendment's gone. People used to go on about the Second Amendment, which I am for, by the way. But I kept thinking you've got to kind of work in this Fourth Amendment outrage as well, and now the First. It's just crazy. I'm going to remove this now, but I thought that was so good. I thought that was a perfect meme, and I know that you've looked into it. So,
Oh yeah, that's right up my alley.
totally. Now, I just wanted to, well, I don't know. What do you have? Because I don't want to get carried away with my own jazz here.
You certainly can get carried away, no problem, but I will pop in with something that I created back just before all of this started, by the way. I think I put this up in January of February.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to share a screen. Hold on.
I'm looking.
There we are.
Okay, and I'm allowing it. Oh, dear.
I told you. I did this quatrain about Louis Pasteur, incidentally, which doesn't surprise me. I have that knack of being timely and not knowing it. So anyway, I'm just going to run this without words and just quickly tell you what I'm trying to convey here. So yeah, he came up with the germ virus theory, and in this quatrain, it's reading good. He'll be honored as a half god, and that is really true. In Paris, he was like the Beatles were in the '60s. I don't know who's popular now, but you get the gist. He was just renowned as like the next Newton, and he ate this up. He ate this up big time, and he was catered to, and he actually got into a little bit of a kerfuffle with other scientists and professors because he would denounce their ideas, promote his ideas, and sometimes he would even sometimes steal some people's ideas.
Plagiarist, absolutely, yes.
Yes. So anyway, here in the last line, as the moon achieves its great cycle, by other winds, what he has said will seem foul. And I think that last line has finally come around. We're realizing now that there was a lot to be questioned with Louis Pasteur, especially on the vaccine end of things. But it is also known, I'm going to press right here, that to his last dying days, he stressed that the germ is a theory and should always be looked into further, not to take his word for it. And others around him were saying the same thing. They were looking at totally different reasons why people were getting sick. And
right.
So anyway,
I mean, from what I can gather, on his deathbed, he said something.
Yes, he did. He said that, that this all well may be not correct. It's a theory. That's what he kept saying the last few years. It's a theory. This may not be correct. Keep pushing forward. Don't just, take my word for it. So there you go with the man who invented germ theory and vaccinations.
Refuse those vaccinations. Bill Gates is a lunatic. What do you think of that?
Someone said today on a show that they don't think it's the real Bill Gates. They think it's a double.
Who the heck knows at this point? This is a neat thing that you're showing, but when you're done, then I can flip something else.
Oh, yes, I am so sorry. I'll take that down.
No, was it done?
Oh, yeah, I'm done. I was just jibber-jawing.
Okay, because here's another theory. It's called terrain theory. And with the germ theory, of course, they say to vaccinate the fish. And with the terrain theory, it says clean the tank. That would mean an environmental. And then you have a whole new science. I don't have a meme for it, but it's called German New Medicine. And I'll supply a link here at the end. But I just wanted to show you I want to show a book that I really recommend, ladies and gentlemen. I own the book, and I think I've mentioned it before. And also, you can get it as a free download here on the fabulous internet. I recommend getting books now. I've said this, I think, every time we've done this, but here, Virus Mania. I can read the small print for you. It says how the medical industry continually invents epidemics, making billion-dollar profits at our expense. And I can't pronounce these people. We've gone over this before. I can never pronounce them. But that's, really all I have at this time, other than I'm getting tired. Let me ask you how you feel about this, G, of anything that goes against the establishment, or the big wigs or whatever, is like you're suddenly like anti-whatever, anti-science, anti-vax, anti-climate, anti-disestablishmentarianism. I mean, it's driving me to drink.
Yes, it's the knee-jerk reaction, again, to throw us into the other team. It's the other side, see, and they're wrong. So we got to get together, quarterback and fullbacks, and let's do it.
Let's bring ourselves back in.
Okay.
I'm sure. Let's do it.
Here
we are. We're delightful. I don't really have much more. I mean, I kind of went over what I wanted to hear as far as that goes with the jabs and stuff. But you have to remember, like, here's something that Kennedy said that I found to be interesting. And it's just common sense. The jab has to be safer than the alleged disease. He didn't use alleged. I do. Kids are almost at a 0% chance of being injured by the alleged virus. And those are my words, alleged, because this virus has not been isolated, purified. It has not lived up to Koch's postulates or any of that jazz. It might come as a shock, but we've mentioned it before here in this and on my channel and her channel. Okay, I'm going to mute wildly
muting. Wow. Well, I just have to say that, again, they are bamboozling us. And I have been reaching out to people since 2001. Well, actually not because of 2001. Actually, I've been reaching out to people since about 2005, 2006, about 2001, the 9 or 11 or acts, plane, yeah, whatever.
Stuff.
Yeah. And now I'm reaching out to people again with another bamboozle that they're pulling on us. That's all I can tell you.
I think this is an important issue. I mean, people might get sick of hearing about it, and they're going to get mad and protest and claim, go on about masks. Let's talk about that quickly. I mean, okay. There are studies out the yin. In fact, I can supply them at the end of this, all these links to different studies on the mask, the costume. Doesn't matter. They don't care. They still think it works, or you should do it, or even on the box. I think I have a box thing here, but I don't think you can see it that well. Says right on the box of certain ones, won't protect you from the thing. They don't care. G-sharp. They don't give a shit if you have a medical exemption, if you have a psychological exemption, if you were raped by a man in a mask back in the day and you can't be around people in masks. They don't give a flying shit. Excuse my language. Flying shit would be messy as well. They don't. You're going to wear one and people are freaking out and screaming at each other over it.
Sure. Well, there's many layers as to why they're doing this whole mask thing. I'm kind of worn out going into all of it. All I can tell you is this. The corporations have just now flexed their muscle, and you're seeing it. See, the laws aren't coming from government anymore. They're coming from your Kmart, your Walmart, your Red Lobster. So as long as you support that type of corporation, they will continue, because they've shut down all of the little itty bitty. You can't support the little guy. He ain't here anymore, because they're already talking about yet another stimulus of $1,200. La 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 la. They may again yet push the renters rent due again for another few months. God help anybody who is a landlord at this point. Do you see what's going on? They're imploding us. It's simple. It's just that simple. And
It really is.
and I-
It's about,
and if you,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, and one more thing. And if you cannot people see what's going on, I can't help you anymore. It's hit peak. It's almost
I,
getting too late.
it does feel that way to me. And there, you could just go over to the World Economic Forum and see that they want to do a reset. And it's going to be something you ain't going to dig. And, if you want to call us tinfoil hat people or whatever, but there have been researchers on this for 30 years. To be honest with you, I never thought that I would see this, when I started tinkering around looking into other stories, I thought, are they really going to force adult vaccines in a cashless society? I was a little bit leery of it. I want to see if there's a possum over there. Now look at us. It's just nutty.
I know if you had told me that we'd have this conversation, what, 6.5 months ago, 5 months ago, I would have said, "Phew,
I know. It was.
what? That's a good movie on TV."
I wanted to ask you something about that. I guess we're not going to end because I want to talk. I'm sure you do too. I heard something. You know how you talk about the different ages and like Pisces is almost done. You mentioned that earlier, and so these whomevers, they have a certain amount of time and they're speeding it up, speeding it up, speeding it up. I heard somebody say, I don't even know who it was. I listen to so many things, while I'm doing other jazz, that some tsunami or something that happened kind of put them behind schedule. Now they got to speed up wildly. Have you ever heard something like that? I don't know if it was some disaster, but it was along the same lines of what you talk about, that there's a certain amount of time for this because these people, these whomevers, doesn't matter what you believe, but they go by the stars, the sky clock. They don't even lay a cornerstone, as our friend Matt says, our friend, without first checking with the stars. I'm talking George Washington, all of them.
No, you're absolutely right. Anybody, well, basically the Masons, most of our presidents, they come out of the Masons one way or another. Yeah, they absolutely did follow the stars. They got a lot of technology back in the day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And then they learned how to acquire more of it. And I'm starting to feel that is the reason why they're not letting us know our real true past, because they've been holding on to all of this stuff until they can figure out how to use it. And yeah, and getting to where we're at now, yes, I think we're always on cycles. That's just the nature of our galaxy and the universe. There's a cycle to everything. We go around the sun 365 days. There's a cycle, I do think that something is afoot. I can't quite put my finger on it. And I've heard, and it kind of makes sense, that even a minor, let's say we just go through a minor debris trail behind one of these asteroids and we get pelted a little bit, but it will give the perfect moment for another country to strike. And I think they're getting postured. They're posturing right now. And I'm not sure what it could be. At this point I don't know if it's going to come from the stars or.
I know that I think you listen to that Suspicious Observer. Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Aren't they Electric University kind of?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because as you know, and I've mentioned before in a previous SOC, but it's been a while, that I'm convinced there is a cyclical thing and that those who think they rule the world know about it. And it resets stuff, and that's why we have these buildings. We've gone over John Levy before. We can visit it another time. Plus, we didn't talk about the Purple Dawn of Time. We'll hold it because I really think it's important to talk about what we talked about tonight.
I'm kind of draped in the Purple Dawn. Anyway.
Yes, you are, totally. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different pieces that I don't think we're going to ever know everything. But some things are falling in, I think, for me anyway.
Absolutely. We will never get the big picture, either because it has been truly lost or it's been hidden.
Oh, definitely hidden.
And we've just got the crumbs, that they can't keep running around and hiding because more and more pops up,
Right. Do you know that that according to mainstream history, I guess that was it the Library of Alexandria that burned or
Hmm.
one of those. I think that they saved what was in it. I
Yeah,
think that's somewhere.
yeah, I think. Oh, and many other things they discovered since.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. The the Templars, you have to remember, first started out, remember, on their crusades to find the Holy Grail and save Christianity and all of that. But along their way, they found a lot of treasures. And then they learned how to find more treasure. And then, like I said, they either got on this virtuous mission from God to destroy it, or they would take it back to the church. And I just want to bring this around to the stars. If you pay attention, follow the money, follow the focus. The Catholic Church not only owns, I don't know how many observatories around the world, they control every bit of data that comes out of any of them. And they've been looking at those stars for a really, really long time. And it could be as simple, like I said, as we're going through a debris trail, possibly another planetoid type thing could be coming in. Why not? What things change. But the bottom line here is I've been watching that, and then also too with our own country. Even though we have four armed forces, we all know that the Navy really runs the show, and
Yeah.
their biggest one of their biggest investments that I heard through a grapevine about 3 or so years ago, and I trust this grapevine, was that their biggest investments uh, taxed them because that's why their ships were starting to get like funky and worn out. And if you notice, ships are like, oh, wasn't there one that just kind of blew up recently
Something, yeah.
in LA Harbor? Anyway, yeah, they said their ships were getting funky because all of their financial resources had, as of late, had been going to sending things out in space to get better, Hubble telescope type
Yeah,
things.
the Navy really is. Thomas is here. That's why I'm looking over here pointing and stuff. Thomas the possum is here, the baby possum.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hi,
it's
Thomas.
definitely him too. It's not the big one.
Oh, okay, not Mama.
That was so strange. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, there's been a baby possum hanging out like 10 to 12 days. And I, feed him and get close to him and all kinds of jazz. But last night I looked down and there was this huge, it was giant. I'm thinking, my God, he hasn't grown that much overnight. So it was not him. It was a different one. But anyhow, yeah, all that jazz you said about the Catholic Church. Don't they have one called Lucifer that's or
Something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's hey, and this is the other thing. I totally am for religion. You believe, great. But you have to really look at the Catholic Church. I mean, the
And that's
anti
the mother, that's the mama.
the Antichrist is there, and that's why everything's so upside down. I keep telling people this. If you
Inversion.
It's yes, because Lucifer has to live in an upside down, inverted world. That's how, I'm going to say, he, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
works.
I was going to say something quickly. See, I was telling Patty today, because she's a Christian, that I see this like satanic or the Lucifer thing as more of a system than an individual. To me, that's how I make sense. Okay, I'm muting.
I see that. I can see that. But I do believe there are dark, it might not be one entity for all I know. But there is a dark force that they're working with. They are definitely, we're in Darko world now.
We're in like a spiritual kind of battle. I think so. And if you would have said that 4 years ago, I would not have, I
Yeah,
would have thought you're nutty.
I know. I've been seeing it. I've been seeing this dark wave just every year. It seems, whether it's local inside, my community, or global outside. It's just everybody's just getting meaner and darker and.
It's weird. And when I first heard this inversion word, it was from David Icke.
Mm.
And I did take what resonated with him and left the rest, of course.
Yes.
But I thought inversion, that's interesting. And now I just see it all the time. It's just so weird with health, with like you were saying, the shipment across the country, like land and then cargo across. Things are inverted, ladies and gentlemen, big time. Just Think of something. There's all kinds of examples which have gone out of my head right now, but I think you get the picture.
No, it's absolutely. I mean, well, right now, in Bizarro World, we've got, people driving around in their cars hyperventilating, and they think they're doing everybody else a service.
Why don't you show that? Can you show that picture? Are you okay? What's
Oh,
wrong?
oh, nothing. I'm exact. I'm trying to not be the caterpillar.
I don't get it.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay. Do you have that feigning picture of the soldier and then
Yes, I
the
do.
dollar, the $20 bill? And I'm going to stop my camera, but I'm right here. I just don't want to be on camera for a minute.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring up some pictures. I brought this on the other night. Hold on here. I got to find the other one. Where'd you go? I may have put some away or something.
Well, I'm here still. I don't want to leave
Oh,
you
here he
hanging.
is.
Okay, here he
Okay,
is.
okay, I got it. Yeah, this is the guy I talked about the other night. Poor fellow. He fell over during was it Senator, is it Lewis? Senator Lewis? Is that the man who died? I guess I'm
I
right.
don't know because I have not kept track of stuff. I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a political guy. He just passed. They've been, uh, doing a procession several days across the United States where he's going home, and they had the obviously the guard polo bears, and as they were standing there, this poor gentleman, this petty officer, I believe, fell over and passed out. And if you see in the small print, here is the spinderella on it, collapsed in the heat. Possibly some heat, but I'm going to go to the next screen if you can bring this one up. Actually, it's because they're all wearing masks in the heat. They're having these soldiers who are already in Class A hot uniforms
Oh, yeah.
on a hot tarmac, and they have the audacity to put them in masks because they have to show that the armed forces are virtuous.
It's unreal. Okay. I listened to a presenter the other day talk about someone who he knew went to the doctor. We can just leave that picture up there. It's fine with me. Went to the doctor and they had to wear their costume to work for like 6-7 hours. And they were feeling sick and getting headaches and not right. And, all the stuff. And could it be because of that? And the doctor said, absolutely not. No. I mean, it just doesn't even make logical sense. I can't do this anymore. Oh my God.
See, and Lisa, I'm right there with you. It's like, my word, people, what's happening right in front of your face, that's reality. Don't listen to somebody who you've never met, never will probably meet, tell
That's right.
you
We really
what the
do.
hell you're to do with your body.
That's
My
right.
God.
And your history, because there's a gentleman on YouTube. I won't get into it, but he does some genealogy, blah blah blah. And he said, "Why do we allow strangers to tell our history? You should go to your elders, your mom, your aunt, your uncle, your great grandmother, and see from where you came. You allow these strangers you've never even, they might not even have existed, to tell about the history of the natives or whatever." Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got a whole different picture of what happened during and after World War II when I was a child versus what I really know now.
Do tell.
Oh, just some of it. Well, uh, you know, Eisenhower was made out as this god who, was the general who saved the war, and they shot Patton. Well, they didn't shoot him. They put him in a car accident, but it was good as shooting him.
Yeah, I did hear. I knew there was a
Because he was
mystery.
going to come out with something because he saw things he didn't like, and they didn't like that. Anyway, that kind of stuff was going on. And also with the German prisoners, they captured well over 200,000 German soldiers and stuck them in POW camps. And out of that, about half, I think 100,000 easily just died of dysentery and poor conditions.
Right.
That's Eisenhower for you.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good closing address and stuff, but we can't, yeah, you're right. You got to take what anybody can do some good quotes. Do you know what I'm
And
saying?
yes, and the last thing that they really hid, especially from us women, when the Russians went into Germany, over 8 million German women were brutalized and raped.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I did watch an Oliver Stone Untold History of the United States. That was pretty good. So I got that angle. And, I try to get all the different angles. Howard Zinn wrote the People's History and things like that. But I think that, like the gentleman who I can't remember who it was said, don't let's not let other people tell our history as much as we can. Try to gather it from like your mom or
Right. Or have a series of people write registers,
yeah,
history registers, and then you can grab all the stories and glean a version from that. But
right.
just to have a couple guys who have one book depository in Texas that distributes all of our, does that tell you something,
I
people?
know it's really wild. I remember we talked about that before. It's crazy.
Yeah.
At any rate, is there anything else you want to do, or shall we end this SOC for the night?
I guess we can end it, Lisa.
Okay, now, we might not even have to edit, ladies and gentlemen. This went pretty well so far. Do you think, G?
Oh, absolutely.
Other than my saying that, they don't care. We're just two women on a porch. And
I know.
I'm just trying to find the closing here, but I will do our little closing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll get serious. No, I won't. Thank you for tuning in tonight to Oregon, Pennsylvania, SOC. I say Oregon funny. How do you say it? I'm going to stop. How do you say it?
Oregon.
Oregon. So do I say it okay?
You sound great.
Okay. Oregon, Pennsylvania, SOC, ladies and gentlemen, where you never know what you're going to get because we usually don't know what we're going to say. We might have a few things. I really wanted to get out that info, and we'll just jump in and kind of work off each other. It's kind of a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is.
So join us next time. Hopefully we'll be doing these more often since I'm on break from LWL. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm going to remove us and take us out of here.
Okay, and stay frosty.
And don't clutch those pearls until you look things over.